Okay, here we are again, back in the shop area, not my home studio. So, nice change. Good to see some tools that we actually see every day. This is a miter saw series, the third video that tells you a little bit more about how to use this amazing machine efficiently and safely. So let's talk about one of the main features that gives us its name, the miter saw, is right in here. You can change the angle of the cut in this direction to create a miter. Okay, so this is the third video we've made on this particular tool. So let me go over a couple things that are essential safety features that we should have learned going through the first two videos. And then I'm just going to highlight them again before I get started showing you how this works. So we can continue to work safely and create the cuts, the precise and accurate cuts that we want to cut. So here's the miter saw again. It's an overhead mounted circular saw, also called a chop saw because of this motion. It has a spring action that causes it to go up. Excuse me. And one of the best, couple of the most important things to learn, we learned about last time with the stop block. If you have using a stop block, which I have here, pretend this is clamped, and you make your cut, and this is a good safety feature to use every time, always let the saw come to a complete stop before you raise it back up. That is essential. And the other thing to remember too is if you're cutting, you could be cutting in either direction of both sides of the saw. Most of the tables on this side, the left side, on this particular saw, but it could have a long extension here. Make sure you don't cross your arms like this in any way, holding it like this, and then turning it on in this direction. It's just a dangerous practice. The other thing is, when you're cutting anything, make sure you're not cutting anything small. Never ever cut with your fingers in here. And when your fingers are in here, as I was demonstrating with the stop block, make sure that your hands are away from the blade, your fingers are in, and your thumb is on the edge, pushing gently toward the fence. You're holding it tightly, and check the fence to make sure there's nothing in the whips that's obstructing it, no piece of wood, no sawdust, anything. Okay, that's just kind of a rehash of important safety things. So now we're going to learn a little bit about what this does. This is actually, if you look at it, it goes from 45 to 45. When it's at 0, it's cutting at 90 degrees. Again, this tool's primary function is for cross-cutting, changing the length, either just a straight 90-degree length of a board or creating angles on the board, which some of the projects we have definitely have that in it. So let's see how that works. So if you look at this particular saw, it has a knob. That knob has to be loosened, and you have to push down, and then it moves, it rotates. Now it has some preset machine stops, like this you'll feel it right here. At 22.5, it automatically stops. As it stops, you tighten this down gently. Doesn't have to over tighten it. It's gonna cut at 22.5 degrees right here at that stop. So there's reasons for that particular number we'll get into later. And one of our projects actually uses this quite a lot. So let me go to 45. That's a pretty common one as well if you're making picture frames or boxes. To create that 90-degree angle, when two 45s come together, it creates that 90-degree angle. Has a stop as well. It'll stop right there. You'll feel it as you push this down, this black button down, piece of metal, and it moves. And then you have that. Now what's kind of dangerous about this, say I'm getting ready to cut this, which I will, is the angle of the blade is coming towards your hand, right? So you have to be aware of that. Make sure it's a little bit farther away, your hand from right in here where I had it when I was at 90, so that you're safely away from the blade. And yeah, that will give you different degrees. So we'll make a 45-degree cut here, and then I'll show you one other thing about this movement of this blade, this direction, because it moves elsewhere as well. Not this, yeah, this saw does as well. It will move in this direction. So for this video, we're just looking at this particular feature of it. So it will go all the way this direction as well. So as you're cutting a 45 this way, if I was cutting it, say now the blade is away from my hand, it's not pointing toward my hand, it's a lot safer position, isn't it? So think about that as you set up your cut. So here I'm going to make my 45 degrees. Same thing. Move it down. Let it stop. Move your scrap. And there's the angle on the cut. You can see it. Okay, there's my 45. If I had another 45, I could create a picture frame or whatever I'm doing. So that is one of the primary important features of this saw. You're making a cross cut, but you're cutting different angles. And it goes from 0 to 45 here. And this is, all miter saws have this feature. So again, loosen it, lock it, put it on 0, tighten it down slightly. You're ready to make that straight 90-degree cross cut. Great feature. Good lesson.